It's finally here, the 6th album by Nothing More, titled Spirits. Here's bass player Daniel Oliver to take us through the highs and the lows of making Spirits, along with some insights into ice hockey. This has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, we've been, we started writing the record September of 2019. And I mean, that was the first day we all got together and started working on it anyway. We'd been, just on our own compiling ideas previous to that. But yeah, it's been, I think it's been, when did we release The Stories We Tell Ourselves? It's been many years since our last record
I think
release,
about 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, we're pumped. Every time you release a record, it's kind of a new era for the band.
Right.
And so that begins today for us.
Okay.
And we are pumped because that last era kind of sucked. So or at least the end of it did.
The end of it. Yeah, it kind of sucked for everybody. So how did the sucking of the last era affect the new era and what we hear on the record?
Well, usually we're forced to just kind of pick apart our personal lives
Right.
and write about the pain of that. But now we got to see the whole world kind of freak out and got to write about all the lunacy we kind of saw in everyone. So it definitely this album definitely has a lot of frustration written into it, from the external world as well as internally,
Right.
The usual Nothing More blend. So
very good. Because I read somewhere where you guys you had too much time to work on it, and it was kind of a detriment. You need a deadline.
It can be, for sure. Yeah, especially we're still self-producing the records, so
right.
There isn't anyone else telling us when it's done or kind of leading the charge. So yeah, this one took a little bit longer, I think, than the last one, but at the end of the day, what came out, I think everyone's going to be pumped. We're super pumped about it. This album's definitely a different record for us. There's a lot more like musical exploration on it than the previous records we had done. So kind of cool to see. When you set out to write a record, you don't really know what the batch of songs is going to be like on the other end. So for us to kind of, be sitting here with this album, and it has like 4 or 5, like 5-6 minute long epic tales on it. We're pumped.
Well, it sounds like, the first track, turn it up, like, it's very aggressive and it sounds very angry. Is that what the kind of statement you wanted to make at the beginning of the record? Turn it up like
Yeah, kind of just energy, like the way we started writing that song was literally me and Ben were jumping up and down in our jam room. What is like that pace that 20,000 people want to jump up and down to at the same time. And that was kind of the rhythm we started with. And that was how that song at least came out of the gate. So
yeah. And so what is the creative process like for you guys? You all kind of write together. You've got your manager and co-producer Will as part of the team as well. So who does what, and how do you make that work? Because that can be a recipe for disaster for some folks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, fortunately for us, like, we all kind of have different roles in the writing process. Like Mark is kind of this magical musical generator that just never stops like putting out ideas. So he's usually the starting place for songs, just like a riff, something that he's a spark to get it going. Johnny will come to the table too with those. Johnny's is kind of interesting because it's always a programming idea, always some weird like loop that we dive into and kind of start deconstructing. But yeah, once we go from there, we always just kind of got to have a start, and then we start talking and just kind of inventing and constructing the musical pieces together. And then from there, once we have kind of like a loose outline of a song, we kind of see what the mood is and what the music's saying, and then either write from there or pair it with existing lyrics or an idea that one of us has.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's usually about like that. Some ideas, sometimes songs come to the table a little bit more complete than others, but it's always just a even with the most complete idea being brought to the table, it's still a big process to kind of
Yeah.
turn it into one of our songs. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Now I see you've got a new video just released today called Best Times. It's just been posted on YouTube. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about the song, about the video, whatever you got on it.
I felt a rush over me. It's right here, but out of reach. It's bittersweet. All the best times, they come and go like a dream. We never know how much they mean. It's bittersweet. All the best times until they leave.
Yeah. Best times. It's like the hopeful jam of the
Right.
record. Like lot of positive energy to it. For me, like the idea is that a lot of times, like you might be going through like one of the best times of your life, like one of the most meaningful and joyous times, but it's oftentimes like paired with so much stress or with anything like a downturn in your own emotional state or something like that you fail to realize it, like for me, I just had my 1 year wedding anniversary a year ago.
Congratulations.
And I thank you. And I married this beautiful, amazing Canadian woman, and so we had to go through the immigration process through COVID.
Right.
And so at the beginning of COVID, most people in Canada lost their jobs, including my fiance. So we're just kind of waiting for her to move, but we decided to not because of COVID, because it's like you might as well just move now and we'll just figure it out. So yeah, just trying to get all of her things across the border when nobody's allowed to cross the border was ridiculously stressful. But I don't know, looking back on all of it, it truly was the best time of my life. Like I can't say that I was ever more alive, or more in love or more, just going for something just out of blind passion kind of thing and pulling it off too. And
Very cool.
yeah. So it's one of those things, like in the middle of it, was I the happiest person? Sometimes, but looking back, it's like, wow, that was an experience. Like that was a time.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the best of times, the worst of times for a lot of people, I think.
Totally. But yeah, I think, yeah. So a big focus of this record, kind of with Alan Watts, is this philosopher that we've been kind of he's kind of our like philosophical mascot, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. Just, and this album, he speaks a lot about focusing on the present moment, and that's, I don't know, it's such a great thought, especially for that song. We should enjoy ourselves and through everything.
Right. And on that kind of thought process, you have a tune called Tired of Winning that's kind of almost the opposite. It's kind of about somebody never being happy or satisfied with whatever they got. So elaborate if you don't mind.
Are you tired of winning? 'Cause it's already over. We were never enough. Are you tired of winning? No one's coming to save us. Are you gonna live this life alone?
Yeah, Tired of Winning is kind of this funny thought of, God creating, in my head, like God got tired of creating perfect beings and he wanted some drama, so he created us, and it's kind of this, a song from the perspective of, if God or aliens or whoever created us is watching to see if, if without their intervention, if we're going to pull it together or just self-destruct. So
yeah. And it's being used in a film called The Retaliators. Is that right? And like
that is correct.
Version? Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
How much do you get involved with like placing a song in a film? Do you need to like see the film and everybody go, yeah, this is cool? Or we'll take the money and run.
Yeah, well, it definitely depends on the film. We would this film was actually put out by our label.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, they made the movie after we had written the song, so it just kind of came about that they approached us and were like, "Hey, this is going to work perfectly in here. Do you want to go for it?" And it's like, "Let's do it." But yeah, we'd like to get placed in more movies. We had Go to War and a Planet of the Apes trailer,
Right.
and we've ended up in a lot of NHL hockey commercials.
Oh, cool.
In Canada. But
well, that helps. Your wife should like that, right? Is she a hockey fan? Everybody in Canada is a hockey fan.
I think you have to be. Yeah. Between 5 and 18, you're forced to play.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Rochester, New York, which is just south of Toronto. And
Cool.
we used to, the streets were covered in ice, and we would get our, play in the streets in the city. And in the wintertime, there was nothing else to do. So,
yeah. Coming from Texas, I'm jealous of all the just kind of free outdoor fun that happens to people from snowy places.
Yeah, it was always fun until somebody got hit in the mouth with a puck, and then then it was looking for the teeth.
Yeah. We went on a Canadian tour with 3 Days Grace, and they're a Canadian band, and we're way up in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and we're playing all hockey arenas, and the hockey arena we were playing had another hockey arena attached to it that was it was empty, and the ice was frozen.
Right.
So I walked down to a thrift store, got some $5 skates,
right.
And then I'm out there, busting my ass, falling everywhere. And that caused a bunch of skates to be brought for the whole tour, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone on the Canadian teams were just so much phenomenally better than us.
Of course.
At everything. I've never touched a hockey stick.
It's in the blood. There's nothing you can do about it.
It's in the blood.
In the blood and in the Molson.
Yeah.
Molson,
in the Molson, right?
Now, in addition to the film stuff, you got I believe I've read there's a graphic novel coming out next year that's kind of related to all this. What do you think about that?
Yeah, our guitar player's heading that up. A gentleman approached us about doing it. And I decided that I didn't want to read it until it was done. So
right.
I'm actually the worst person to ask about that. But I'm excited, so excited about the graphic novel, and I'm excited for everyone to take the spirits test that is out now to be taken. That's something Johnny, I think 3 years ago, I saw him. He just kind of started taking on this psychological thought project. This grand human behavior analysis thing in the bus. And he's always asking us random questions. And little did we know, he was putting together kind of this test that he was hoping to be. I'm sure you've heard of the Myers-Briggs aptitude test.
Yep.
There's things, there's aptitude tests like that are very scientifically based and cold and corporate, and there's a lot of useful information you can get out of them, for sure. And then there's, on the other side of that spectrum, there's the Zodiac, which, just based on when you're born can, in theory, kind of tell you something about yourself.
Yep.
But it's not really based in anything. So Johnny kind of had this cool idea to blend the two, where, there is real factual knowledge about you in taking this test, but it's also combined with kind of the spiritual element to kind of we are all spirits, if you will. There's an essence, a spirit in all of us, and we think that the more you know about that spirit and the more you know about yourself, the easier life gets, the easier to manage things or to kind of decide your place in the world. So I don't know. Johnny finished that up right as the album was kind of coming together, and it just coincided perfectly, in the spirit of the test.
Sure.
Combining with the spirit of the record, which is also called Spirits.
Yep.
We made a little universe. So
cool. You don't want to flunk the test, you'll be out of the band.
Don't want to flunk the test. Yeah. Right.
So you're back on the road, you're back playing in front of people. Is it different this time around than it was, 2-3 years ago?
it is honestly like way more crowd surfers, like
Oh yeah.
more mosh pits. Yeah, there's like a new energy to everyone. We're a band, we're a heavy band, but I feel like we're not a band that always had many mosh pits, if any at all. And there'd be crowd surfers and things, but like the last two tours, people are mosh pitting in the slow songs. Like
Okay.
things like that. It's like a mosh pit has to happen no matter what kind of feeling. So, yeah, I'll
So
take it.
do you think that's because the music has changed, or the kind of mentality out there has changed?
I think the mentality's changed. I think everyone's a little bit more grateful now, and just excited that we can be together again. Because when you're the world without close contact is a very different world
Yeah.
than it, like, getting excited on a phone call is much harder to do than getting excited around five other people getting excited,
Right.
So having that being missing from the world for a good amount of time, it's a big deal, I think.
Right. And you guys had to make this record kind of isolated, right? Were you together in a room ever making it, or were you doing the laptop thing?
We did both for sure. We got together as much as we could. It was harder with COVID for sure, and it was harder to we do collaborations, and as we're finishing up songs, we love working with outside writers on it just to make sure it is the best thing that can happen. And a lot of that like just wasn't happening in COVID.
Right.
Like people were much more reluctant to actually get in rooms with each other, and we were forced in a lot of ways to do Zoom meetings. Even with the label, like with the previous album, like if they would have flown us to New York at some point, we would have had a big like in-person meeting, because that's what you do. It's the vibe. Like that's how you get to know people. When you're on a 30-person Zoom call, it's like, I don't know what we're really doing here.
Right. Yeah. I hear you. And of course, the previous album, you got nominated for a bunch of Grammys and stuff. It was pretty successful. Was there any pressure to follow that up and to either equal that or beat that with this record?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to beat the record before, for sure. The Grammys was such like we had never put our sights on it. That was never really in our calculus when it came to like what a successful rock band in our genre is.
Yep.
So for that to happen was such a massive thing that I don't know. I don't think we can really quantitate in our head like how to chase that again, other than to do the same thing we did, which was to make the best record possible. So if we don't, I don't know. Art in general, there really shouldn't be contests around. That's kind of a hard thing.
I do agree with you on that. Yeah, because that's not what it should be about, but that's how people kind of rate each other. And you have charts, and you have record sales, as opposed to people judging whether it's just a decent record or not, I guess.
Right. So it I don't know. It meant a lot. It did mean a shitload to us that we got to do it. And especially we slugged it out for 10 years in the underground before having a label. And it meant so much, I think, to our families and friends to kind of have something real in their head that they can point to.
Right.
It's like my mom and dad, they don't they know what the Grammys are, like
fair enough.
They don't see every show I play, or know what having 1,500 2,000 people at your headline show is like, and how hard that is, but to accomplish. I don't know, it's cool. It was such a good thing for us, and we were honored, and just hope to participate again in the future for sure.
Right. And of course, I've talked to people whose record is coming out, on the day, and you said watching them, they're looking and seeing how many streams they get on Spotify or something. It just seems weird.
Yeah. It shouldn't. I don't know. We shouldn't be so wrapped up in popularity.
Yeah, fair enough.
I get it.
So have you been down to this part of the world? Have you been to New Zealand and played?
No, I want to go to New Zealand so badly. We did Soundwave, I think in 2015,
Right.
and that was our last time really in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right.
So some of our favorite bands, like our collective favorite band is Carnival, and another one's 12 Foot Ninja. Both are Australian, you know,
Yeah.
not New Zealand, but
Yeah.
still like right there. We're
Down in the
dying to get over
vicinity,
there, though.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That area just seems to really like and appreciate cool music. So
That's true. That is true. Very good. And with the big wide gap between this album and the previous one, do you guys have a bunch of material stored up for the next one?
yeah, we do. Just scraps and things.
Right.
Like you don't know what love means. Our current single, that's actually an example of a song that it wasn't a B-side from the last record, but we could never finish it correctly, basically. We're like, this is a jam for sure, but it's not there. So we just kind of held on to it. So there's 2 or 3 more of those from this record to carry over that might get finished. We're already in the works to avoid this, you know, this giant gap again. We're already working on the following record. So
Excellent.
and yeah, and it's looking like we're gonna be going with a not self-producing this next one. We're gonna try out going with a big time producer and see
That'll
how it
be
goes.
interesting.
So, I'm excited.
Why not? It's
Yeah.
always get a little
Why
new blood
not?
in there and see what people, because your perception could be totally different than what somebody else's is about. You know, they hear a song, they see what you do, they hear what you do, and they have a
Totally.
different approach to it. So why not keep an open mind? That's what I say.
Yeah, the greatest thing about working with other people is you get to learn how they think,
Right.
and you get to kind of adapt like part of their processes too,
Yep.
like in what you do. So yeah, it'll be a good time. We're all too strong-willed for anyone outside of the band to ruin a record for us, so
Right.
no worries.
All right, we won't worry about it. Great. Well, thank you for getting in touch with me and talking to me about it. Good luck with the tour and the record and everything, and maybe you'll come down here someday soon.
Yeah, hopefully there's talks early next year. So
Great.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right. Have a great day. Good luck.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.